Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something I think a lot of us have probably wondered about. The connection between how we felt with our parents growing up and,
Hmm.
well, how we actually did in school.
Exactly. It's a fundamental question, isn't it? And we've got a great source to guide us today. It's a meta-analysis.
Right, one of those big studies that combines lots of others.
Precisely. This one's called The Association Between Parent-Child Attachment and Academic Adjustment, a multi-level meta-analysis.
Bit of a mouthful, but basically, it looks at that parent-kid bond and school stuff. It came out in Educational Psychology Review, August 2024.
And it's not just a few studies they looked at, right? It was quite a number.
Oh, yeah. We're talking 45 different studies pooled together. And the number of students involved is, well, it's huge, over 53,000 students covering kids and adolescents.
Wow. Okay. So the mission for this deep dive, for everyone listening, is really to unpack what this huge analysis tells us. What are the key things we can learn about, like the support systems that help students do well? Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
And maybe just to clarify up front, when this study talks about academic adjustment, what does that actually mean?
Good point.
They break it down into three main things. First is academic motivation. So think about how confident you feel, like your self-belief in tackling schoolwork, academic self-efficacy, they call it.
Okay, so that's the I can do this
Yeah.
feeling.
Then there's engagement. How much do you stick with it? Persistence when the work gets tough. Do you push through?
Makes sense. And the third one?
That's achievement. This is probably what most people think of first. Grades, GPA, test scores, that kind of thing. The results.
Got it. Motivation, engagement, achievement. Okay, so let's jump in. What did this giant meta-analysis find overall? Is there a link between that parent-child connection and how students are doing across these areas?
Well, the headline finding is pretty clear. Yes, there is a significant link. The analysis showed a definite, statistically significant association between parent-child attachment and overall academic adjustment.
So it does matter. That early relationship really seems to echo into the school years.
It really does seem to. It suggests those foundational relationships provide, well, some kind of basis that influences how you approach school later on.
Okay, let's break that down further. Starting with the positive side, secure attachment. For anyone listening who isn't, deep into attachment theory, what does secure attachment basically mean?
At its core, secure attachment is really about feeling safe, secure, and trusting in that relationship with your parent or main caregiver.
Like having a home base you can always count on.
Exactly. You trust they'll be responsive, they'll be there if you're upset or need help. There's a fundamental sense of reliability and comfort.
Right. So how did feeling that kind of security link up with those three academic areas, achievement, motivation, engagement?
The findings were pretty consistent, actually. Secure attachment was positively related to all three, so better outcomes across the board.
Okay, tell me about achievement first.
Yeah.
Like grades.
Yep. For achievement, they found a positive correlation.
Hmm.
The R value was 0.132. Now, in social science, that's considered a small positive effect.
Small, but it's there.
It's definitely there. It suggests that feeling secure is associated with, yeah, slightly better academic performance, generally speaking.
Interesting. So maybe not a massive jump in grades, but a noticeable tendency. What about motivation? That inner drive.
That link was a little stronger, actually. The correlation R was 0.161, so again, positive.
Okay.
It suggests that feeling secure might feed into feeling more confident about your ability to succeed at school, maybe more internal drive.
Yeah.
Kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If you feel supported, you're probably more willing to, like, put yourself out there academically, believe you can handle it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's engagement sticking with the work.
How did that look?
This is where the connection was strongest. The correlation between secure attachment and academic engagement was R 0.229.
Ah, okay. So 0.229.
Hmm.
That's moving more towards a moderate link.
Yes. In these kinds of studies, that's generally seen as a moderate positive correlation. It implies that if you have that secure base, you're more likely to be persistent, to invest effort, to really engage with learning, even the tough parts.
So it's not just about the final grade. Feeling secure seems tied to the whole process of learning the effort, the sticking with itness. That feels pretty important.
It really does. It's like that security provides a foundation that supports your drive, your resilience, and, yeah, ultimately your performance too.
Okay, so that covers the secure side. But the study also looked at insecure attachment, right? The other side of the coin.
It did. It mainly focused on two common types, avoidant and anxious attachment.
Can you give us a quick sense of what those look like? I think people might recognize these.
Sure, avoidant attachment. Well, it often develops when kids learn, maybe implicitly, that expressing needs for closeness doesn't really work or isn't welcomed. So they tend to suppress those needs.
Become very independent.
Very self-reliant, sometimes seem emotionally distant. They might handle problems alone, not really reach out for comfort.
Okay. And anxious attachment.
Anxious attachment is kind of the opposite pattern in some ways. The child might be really preoccupied with whether the parent is available and responsive. There's often a fear of abandonment, sort of constant seeking of reassurance or closeness.
Like needing a lot of confirmation, maybe worrying a lot about the relationship.
Exactly. It can involve a lot of worry and monitoring of the parent's availability.
So one pulls away, the other kind of clings or worries. How did these styles connect with academic achievement, those grades and scores?
Well, both showed negative associations. Avoidant attachment had a moderate negative correlation with achievement, R equals 0.154.
Negative 0.154. So more avoidance linked to lower achievement.
That's the trend suggested by the data, yes. For anxious attachment, the negative link was smaller, but still statistically present, R equals 0.081.
Interesting. So avoidance seemed to have a slightly stronger negative link to grades than anxious attachment did in this analysis.
That's what this specific meta-analysis found, yes.
So the overall idea is that if your attachment pattern involves either that kind of pushing away or that constant anxiety about connection, it might create some drag on academic success.
That seems to be the implication.
Yeah.
It suggests that these patterns might perhaps divert some cognitive or emotional energy away from schoolwork. If you're very focused on managing closeness or very worried about relationships, maybe there's less capacity left for focusing purely on academics.
That makes intuitive sense. Now, you mentioned earlier that research often has nuances, and this study found some too. One was about how attachment was measured in the original studies.
Yes, this was quite interesting. They found that the type of measurement tool used actually mattered, specifically for the link between secure attachment and achievement.
How so?
Well, the strength of that positive link, or R equals 0.132 overall, varied depending on whether the original study used, say, categorical measures like just putting people into a secure or insecure box, versus continuous measures, which place attachment on more of a spectrum.
Ah, okay. So the way you slice the pie affects what you see.
Kind of. It suggests that how we define and measure attachment can definitely influence the strength of the connection we find with things like grades. It's a reminder about methodological details being important.
Definitely. And there was another nuance mentioned, something about gender.
Right. Gender seemed to play a role, specifically in the relationship between secure attachment and motivation.
Okay, how did gender moderate that link?
The analysis showed that while secure attachment was positively linked to motivation for, everyone, the precise nature or maybe the strength of that link looked a bit different statistically between male and female students.
So the basic positive connection holds, but there might be subtle differences in how it plays out depending on gender.
Exactly. The study didn't necessarily explain why that difference exists, but it flagged it as a factor that interacts with the main relationship. It just adds a layer of complexity.
It really shows it's not always a simple A leads to B picture, doesn't it? These other factors weave in.
Absolutely, which is typical of psychological research.
So, stepping back a bit, what did the study authors say about the bigger picture? Why is this research considered important?
They really emphasize that these findings are pretty crucial for understanding the pathways through education, how those very early relationships can cast a long shadow, potentially shaping a student's entire academic journey.
It really drives home that connection between our social emotional world and our academic world. They aren't separate silos.
Not at all. The research strongly suggests they're intertwined, and it highlights how foundational those early relational experiences can be.
And for listeners who might be researchers themselves or just really keen to dig into the numbers.
Yeah, the authors made a point of this. The data and the code they use for the meta-analysis are actually publicly available. You can get them from the first author.
Oh, that's great. That really supports transparency and lets other researchers replicate or build on the findings.
Exactly. It's a really positive move for open science in this field.
Okay, so let's try and boil this down. If someone listening is walking away from this deep dive, what are the absolute key takeaways they should remember?
I'd say number one, secure parent-child attachment generally shows up as a positive. It's linked positively with academic achievement, with motivation, and especially with engagement sticking with schoolwork.
Right. Feeling safe and connected seems to help across the board academically.
Yeah. And number two, Insecure attachment, particularly the avoidance style, tends to show a negative association with academic achievement. Anxious attachment also showed a negative link, though maybe a bit smaller in this study.
And remember the nuances, things like how attachment is measured can affect the results, and factors like gender might interact with these links in subtle ways.
Precisely. It's complex, but that core pattern security being generally helpful for academics, insecurity potentially posing challenges, seems quite robust based on this large body of evidence.
This really does get you thinking, doesn't it? Like, if these early relationships are so influential, what does that mean for, well, for education systems,
Yeah.
for how we support students?
That's the big question, I think.
Could we maybe try to create environments in schools or other learning settings that mimic some aspects of secure attachment? Environments built on trust, responsiveness, safety, especially for kids who might not have had that secure base early on.
It certainly opens up that line of thinking. How can we leverage this knowledge about relationships to support learning?
Yeah, it feels like this research really pushes us to consider how deeply our connections with others affect our ability to learn, to achieve, basically to thrive throughout our whole academic journey.
Absolutely. It's a powerful reminder that education isn't just about minds, it's about the whole person,
Mhm.
including their emotional foundations. And thinking about how to foster supportive, secure-feeling relationships within educational contexts could be a really valuable direction. It underscores that our social and emotional well-being is fundamentally linked to our learning.